towards it, and it was the downfall of LNG. Do we get the rinse and repeat here? As LNG will pick up the Xinjiao for themselves. I imagine we'll see a rinse and repeat here for the Varus, or maybe they are a bit too worried about this Jhin pick coming out once more.
And I want to give a tiny little bit of extra context on this Camille pick. For any viewers that aren't big LPL viewers, for anyone that doesn't know who Bin really is, Bin's solo QID when he was scouted to become a pro player was Love Camille. This guy was basically a Camille one-trick in the Chinese super server, and he has not lost any of that skill ever since. But Ale is going to lock in that Jax to try and take him on.
And it means that you're going to have your work cut out for you as Ale. You're definitely going to need some help, though, because this early matchup can go one of two ways, and it's either phenomenal for one of these two guys or terrible. So we're going to have to wait and see. Suni, no, going to go towards this Syndra pick. Angel has been loving it. It's been a very, very strong pick. And also the opportunity here to take something like the Thresh if they want to into that bot side for the support role. Keep themselves open when it comes to towards the AD carries. Or look towards that jungle for SofM. And it looks like the Olaf is going to be the call.
SofM just saying to Tarzan, 1v1 me, bro, because I'm happy to take you down in the early stages of the jungle matchup. But we talked about the Lulu earlier on in this series, exceptionally strong for the 2v2. And once again, Icon opting out of the 1v1 with Angel, not wanting to take on Angel Syndra, instead going for these defensive, supportive mid lane picks.
Yeah, it's such a strong pick, and it's actually what we saw banned away the last two times that the Syndra was locked in. We got the Karma and the Lulu banned, so I wouldn't be surprised I can go, right, look, just give me the Lulu. Let's play through this mid-jungle 2v2, enable Ale in this top side, and get ourselves set up where I've got, like, supportive capabilities for a Jax and a Xinjiao. Like, they become menaces in a team fight with a Lulu behind them.
Yeah, so we'll be able to catch up in the with the draft in a moment. The overlay breaks sometimes. There wasn't a ban missed. Don't worry, it's just moved to the second ban phase, and it confuses the overlay sometimes. We'll catch up, don't worry. So the Lulu, I'm going to assume, was locked in here. I love how we have name tags on the chairs for players, by the way. Never seen that before. I'm surprised that we've got name tags on them. They're not actually in the camera shot, so maybe it was just for the seating plan. I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling here, Dagda. What do you expect to see banned in this second phase?
Yeah, we're going to be kind of going in blind here, but I still think you end up going towards some of the AD carry bans, towards the bottom side of the map. Neither AD carry locked in, especially when you're looking over at the side of LNG. You can start banning away the Jhins, some of these, well, Vayne there as well. But I was going to say, like, Jhin, Kalista, take the Varus for Lice on that opposite side, but it's actually going to be Sunin who are looking to ban away some of these picks. Ziggs is gone, so I'm surprised to see the Vayne ban here.
You have to ban the Cog more, right? Because the Lulu is technically a flex.
True.
We could see the Lulu mid, but we could easily see Lwandy take it and just go with a hyper carry. So I think that's the logic for this Vayne ban. And by extension of that logic, you could go with the Cogmo ban as well.
Also, by the logic that we're seeing the Ezreal bans, I'm wondering if we're actually going to look, and the Vayne, I'm wondering if we're going to get a Felios. I'm wondering if it's going to be like a Braum, a Felios bot lane coming through here for LNG. So they're trying to get rid of like the hyper carries that can be enabled by the Thresh, like this Jinx. They've taken away some of the aggressive engages that can work well into that lane, like the Rel. So I wouldn't be surprised by an Felios pickup here. Or, as you said, a potential Kog'Maw Lulu bot lane.
See what's going to come on through here with the Rel ban, though. I really like this ban away from Lwandy with the performance he's been having on the Rel across the course of this series. But light goes with this Varus once more. We still don't exactly know where the Lulu will go. Likely to that mid lane, but we'll have to wait and see. But it could be another champion there for LNG.
I don't understand this. You had the opportunity to ban away the Jhin, and instead you ban away Ezreal, the Jhin comes out, Huanfeng just trounced you on this pick, and for on then, take something like the Braum, you've got the super defensive bot lane, and especially when you're looking at the all-in capabilities of LNG, something that can disrupt that. If you want to not take Braum, the Rakan fits that perfectly as well. Like, it makes it kind of difficult for LNG to operate and gives you a strong side of the map to dive.
Rakan, a pick that was banned by LNG last game as well. On Final, gets to go for that Rakan pick. And you know what? Suning are just like, you're going to play that Varus. We're going to Jhin it to win it. And it's looking pretty good for Suning in this draft. I have to say, a lot of picks that really favor them. Bin with a signature, Angel with a signature, Huanfeng with a signature, and on. He may not be that experienced of a player. He's not a veteran that has these signature picks, but certainly Rakan has been one of his standouts.
And we're going to have to see it come out here once again. Like, I'm a little bit worried about this bottom lane matchup, but I will say when we look towards the rest of the map for LNG, I think they're in a good spot, right? They've got really strong potential to play through this top half of the map. And where they can actually like run through the mid jungle 2v2, play towards Ale, let this bot lane just do its thing. And if they step in behind, wonderful. But the problem is Sunin are going to be trying to contest that every step of the way as well. Like Angel can set up these big plays with the Scout of the Week. You get the follow up from Bin, from SofM. The skirmishing is very potent on both sides. It's really going to come down to execution in this early game.
And that's exactly what I want to hear, Dagda. That's music to my ears, that we get early action for game number 5 of this series. And a series that, by all accounts, it's been a lot more exciting than I think a lot of people were expecting, to be honest. Yeah. First off, going to 5 games, very exciting in of itself, but also 2 teams that historically have been exceptionally quiet in the early game. Very slow burner games that we've seen from these 2 teams historically, but today we're seeing them bringing out all of the stops in the early game, and now Olaf versus Zhao. It's SofM versus Tarzan. That's the matchup that we've got to see. That's the early game jungle matchup that is likely to decide this entire series.
And we've just seen SofM deliver Zhao's first loss to Tarzan. We'll have to see if we can do the same for Icon now on the Lulu.
Let's see as we head into game number 5. SofM, since leaving LNG, has never lost a series to the organization. Suning have won this matchup every single time since 2019 summer. And SofM is not looking to lose that record anytime soon. In spring playoffs, Suning finished LNG off with a quick 3-0 and a 17-minute win in the last game. And now, in summer, LNG started off strong. They've started to dwindle, but it ain't over until it's over. We're into a straight-up best of 1, and we'll see who comes out better at the end of it.
All on the line here. Again, we're going to see both junglers starting off with the red smites down towards this bottom side of the map. I think we're going to end up getting a lot of like kind of clashing between these 2 in the early stages.
Dagda, I know you've done a lot of prep on smites. You were telling me how SofM loves the blue smite. Didn't you spend like literally an hour doing research onto the fact that SofM likes blue smite more? He's not run it a single time this entire series.
So, for everyone at home, I went through every single... We don't have this stat. I went through every single VOD of Suning and checked what smite SofM had taken. It was like 42 games or 48 games or something like that I went through and sat down. I was like, he takes blue smite. He has taken blue smite in every game apart from one in his last 5 series. It's because they facilitate pick. And I went through all of this. I was like, he hasn't taken blue smite. He takes it like double the amount of time he has red smite, by the way. Like, this isn't just like some random stat that I want to pull out. This was like really cool. And now he's played red smite every single time. I will say though, it does make sense because he has a 2.5% higher win rate with red smite. So he's done the math as well. He has checked the data.
He's inching it out. For anyone at home that was wondering whether or not casters have too much free time, I think that answers your question, doesn't it? We'll see how this early game is going to go down. As SofM pathing towards his bottom side this time. Tarzan going up to that top lane. We need to talk about Bin on this Camille. It feels like Tarzan has to influence that top side.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very swingy matchup. Now, the way that you want to try and play this matchup as the Jax is, okay, I'm going to leap in. I'm going to get this very quick trade. When Bin tries to trade back with me, I start, as you can see, the counter-strike there. And it means that it's really difficult for Bin to get this trade as I like getting a really strong trade there. But you can see right there how this matchup works. If you mess up the counter-strike as ally, Bin can then turn this trade around really well with the precision protocol and that second burst of damage off the second thing.
And that's how you play it as the Camille, right? He jumps in with a counter strike, you leap strike, get the stun, and it gives you time to walk out. So we get perfect examples of how these trades should work from both sides there. Very nicely done. But here we go. We said we wanted Tarzan in the top side. Double TP immediately. We've got a brawl to start off game number 5. Stun onto Bin. Flashes underneath the tower. Tarzan is here. But Icon tank in the tower barely survives. Tarzan flashes out. Angel has to do something. He has to answer. Icon barely survives the minions. Tarzan walks away. Suning annihilated.
Icon, I know I saw 2. I don't know if he went to 1 HP. He was literally 1 to 2 HP at the end of that and just about managed to escape. And LNG, they get away with it. And that massive wave for Bin is now lost to the turret. That is a magnificent play from LNG to start this one out.
Tarzan kicking things off, and you could see both teams knew exactly what was up, right? The instant double TP from the 2 mid laners. They knew that the party was happening. I cannot believe Icon just barely gets away with that one. And what a way to start our game 5 in this series.
Yeah, and we're going to see the pro view. I want to watch this health bar at the bottom, but you can see here, right? Really smart from Ali. Ends up on the edge of range to keep himself safe. I can see 19, 15, 8. 1 HP! 1 HP! 1 HP! He went at 1 HP! That is insane! The math Icon just 5 head. The calculations. We thought we were doing good maths earlier on. Icon's on a different level.
See, at the start of that pro view, I was going to criticize Icon for not using his whimsy right at the start of the play. Turns out he knew he needed it to escape the minions on the back half of the play. That's the difference between good players and pro players right there. Okay, 1-0 for LNG to start us off here. And importantly, the kill went to Tarzan. We talked about this jungle matchup. Tarzan already having an advantage.
And again, it's about solidifying this top half of the map, because we've seen it time and time again. These Rift Heralds, well, they haven't exactly gotten much done when they're taken, but there has been some major fights around these Rift Heralds when they start to be taken. So I certainly think that we're going to see a little bit more aggression towards this top side. And as Tarzan, like especially with where the wave is positioned now, could look to continue ganking towards Bin, setting up Ally for success, and having that strong top half of the map to play through.
Certainly the window. I mean, look at the CS difference in the top lane right now.
Yeah.
It's almost, it's 25 in favor of Ally. And the thing is, it's not like the wave is pushing to Bin and he's about to get a huge amount. Like that is just the way it is now for Bin, as he loses some trades real badly. And I will say, he's got Grasp, which is like the ultimate top laner copium, right? Where you can take these terrible trades, you're like, yeah, but I got my Grasp proc though, and you kind of like pat yourself on the back and you use that to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah, the big problem though is that he's 600 gold behind Ale, who had that corrupting potion. So Grasp versus the 3 pots extra that Ale had makes it a little bit unfair. He's going to go back and get his own refillable, but now he's just TP'd into Tarzan, who actually doesn't feel confident on this one.
Ale is going to take a couple of tower shots for his trouble on that one. Not sure that was quite worth it. He obviously thought Tarzan was going to come in. Perhaps a little miscommunication on the side of LNG here. SofM's moving up. Now, ordinarily, I'd say, you know, the jungle is coming up to help his top laner, but this is SofM. Let's be real here. He's coming up because Braum spawned.
Yeah, I mean, SofM is one of the most, probably the most efficient jungler that we have. Like, he's always on point with, okay, I can do this to transition even to the opponent's side of the jungle, and then, like, constantly clocking and ticking along how his opponent is doing and what these camps are going to be. It does mean, though, that, like, oftentimes he's more focused on, hey, this is where I need to be to farm this efficiently, rather than, hey, my top laner needs to make sure that he can get his top wave and not die to another gank from Tarzan.
And you can see that CS lead building in the jungle role, almost 20 in favor of SofM to start us off in this one. And because of that huge wave crashing for Bin, does mean he's able to, you know, somewhat alleviate the difference in the top side. It's still over 20 in Alex's favor, but hey, it's ever so slightly better than it was. But Suning, let's talk game plan here, because they've got a Jhin, not usually a super aggressive AD carry, right? I feel like last game was somewhat of an exception. Syndra, though, very, very strong. We've broken past that level 6 mark. It feels like this could be a window here for Suning to start to try and put some pressure on the map.
Yeah, and they're trying to move on up so then they can look towards this Rift Tower, right? You got pressure mid, let's rotate first and have priority on that. Duel in the bot lane.
It's not much of a duel, is it? It's Light just absolutely destroying Huanfeng. Huanfeng regretting walking up to trade. That's the inevitability of what I was about to call a lethality Varus. He has that Hail of Blades, which is customary of lethality, but he's actually gone for a nuke with it. This is going to be an on-hit Varus.
And I actually think this is pretty smart. Like, one of the things that Huanfeng and the Jhin does well against the Varus is, hey, look, I can actually trade pretty effectively, and I outrange you so your poke doesn't do anything. And on hit, Varus with a Lulu gets far more opportunities to take these fights, can work through the front line and actually start to deal a lot of damage.
Getting absolutely railed by Ale in this top side here. And I love how Ale manages to get these trades before the shield comes through. The second that shield is there for Bin, just backs away. Suning start the Herald, but it's going to reset. Can Suning take a Herald and get the eye? It's the age-old question of this series. Ale on a flank right now. Has he gone too deep for this one? No, he hasn't, because Wild Growth exists. He's just going to chase down. He actually flashes in for the play here, trying to finish off Angel. I was totally wrong. He went way too deep for that play, and now the curtain call comes in, and it's Tarzan's curtain call. Make no mistake on this one. Lwandy trying to protect his jungler. Fourth shot going to be blocked by Tarzan as he takes out on Scatter the Weak. A root coming in as well. But SofM forced out of the play. Bin on the front line here. Has to jump out, but he jumps straight back into the play once more. Whimsy denies his damage. Now Huanfeng, their health bars are low. That's a fourth shot going in. A bouncing grenade. A deadly flourish. And an easy fight for Suning.
Jax has returned though, the TP in, and Suning huddled close to the tower for warmth and for safety, will manage to back away, but we could still see LNG take this Rift out. That was a messy fight from LNG, and honestly, a lot of that, as you said, Munch, off the back of Ale. I actually was a bit worried here, but the stun onto Angel, I think he just back away here, but the flash forward to try and finish off Angel was way too far. Too much CC, too much to deal with. Ale goes down, and SofM just uses the Ragnarok to stop himself being traded on the opposite side of the fight. And from here, the curtain call is doing so much. Pressing guard from Tarzan, actually surprising, I think, on here. Wasn't expecting him to be able to turn that around. But from this point forward, there's just very little left. Light's being pressured by Huanfeng and Angel and can't actually get into the fight.
Play on the top side here. Ale trying to get underneath his tower. No flash available. Uses the counter-strike, but Ragnarok says no way. Bin
Ale
won't finish the kill. What? One more auto would have done it. They don't make the play happen. Ale keeps himself alive.
All right, I'm going to need pro view again. I'm going to need to see that health bar. Is this going to be a 1 HP situation again? Because, my God, I cannot believe Bin didn't just say auto. He didn't go for it. And Ale barely manages to escape away. That is heartbreaking. Now, you still get a good wave put into the hands of Bin. Like, keeping that out of Ale's control is going to be wonderful. Also getting 2 plates should stabilize the matchup a little bit, but you can still see there's a good 600 gold lead. Oh, well, sorry, 400 gold lead going over in favor of Ale. And LNG, they're trading on the bottom side of the map as well, which means SofM looks like he'll get his hands on the Rift Herald.
Ale returns to that top side, but SofM moves to the Herald. Dagda, I think you might be calling that one a little bit too early, because LNG are going to come in. No Herald will go unanswered in this series. Suning must not be allowed the first Herald of the game. LNG are desperate to deny it. Tarzan moves in. Remember, Zhao before this series was 100% win rate over 7 games. He just looked damn good in this series, but SofM getting the best of it in game number 4. Herald down to 3,000 here. Suning grouped up to try and contest. Deadly Flourish through. The eye is going to be procced. I have no idea who took it. I think it was Tarzan here. Is LNG going to pick it up? Ale gets himself that Herald. Lwandy will jump away to his teammate. Scatter the Weak, not quite enough here. Deadly Flourish goes wide, and LNG look like they might get away, but Bin says no. We must find at least 1 kill, but Lwandy trying to get away. On can't find the knockup. Lwandy actually gets away with this one. SofM is furious, and he's desperate to punish them. But LNG, they stay clustered as a group. The friend group stays together. Safety in numbers, Dagda.
Safety in numbers and safety with the Lulu as well. Shields, whimsies, wild growths, everything to keep LNG hobbling but still standing. And nothing goes back in the way of Suning in terms of kills, but you will see Bin at least getting another turret play for himself. So in the grand scheme of things, when we look at the goals that has come across, yes, Suning have been able to answer with these turret plates in the top side for what you imagine would be a 3 Rift Herald, or 3 turret plate play with the Rift Herald coming through from Ale.
Okay, so where we're at in terms of the gold, 600 in favor of Suning as we head towards the 15-minute mark here. But a good portion of that should be even up with this Herald on the side of LNG. we've got to check in this top lane again. As oh wait, Ale actually picked up that Herald. On needs to try and tank this if he can, but I think it's in range to just go for the charge anyway. 5 seconds and it will be the plates taken. So Ale gets himself 320 gold off the back of that Herald. Nicely done there. And it means that we are just about even in terms of the gold as we head into the mid game. Dagda, Drake up in 2.5 minutes. Feels like LNG, this strong top side working out for them. Still a 35 CS lead for Ale, having already finished his first item as well.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of crucial things, right? We already said Ale getting massively far ahead because of the pressure that LNG have given him. Blade of the Rune King to the Divine Sunder. Ale's going to be able to trade pretty effectively against Bin in these scenarios. The other thing that I'm looking at, though, is like first and second items for Icon and Light. Icon's still waiting to finish his rally. He's actually just picked it up off that reset. Light, I still feel like needs the Ruin's Hurricane to really, or at least the Gwynsu's Rage Blade to really kind of come alive in these fights. So right now, just with the utility that Huanfeng is able to offer and providing the opportunity to set up for SofM alongside Angel, it's actually still going to be pretty tough for LNG to win out these fights straight up unless they're able to bring Ale down at some 5v5 where they can use the fact that this Jax is ahead.
Well, let's talk items quickly, Dagda, as well, before we get into the next fight that could happen in about 1.5 minutes when that Drake is onto the map, because Huanfeng finishing his Eclipse there as well already. And at the same time, Light getting that shield bow. Importantly, Icon going for that Shirelia's Battle Song as his first item, fully indexing into the fact that he is just a secondary support in this game. And that's one of the concerns, really, for the side of LNG, is if you do get to the later stages of this game, do you feel like this team could lack damage, especially with all of your significant damage threats being AD?
I mean, yeah, but you've got mixed damage coming through from the Jax, and attack speed Jax is terrifying and might be in trouble as...
Well, there's no way out of it. Hextech Ultimatum keeps him here, or does
Not
it?
again.
No way does he get away with it again.
Okay.
Angel comes in and manages to save the play. That was a little bit too close to comfort for Suning, as Ale has really had their number this series, but now 0 and 2, and Bin once again has a bit of a reprieve in the top side.
I mean, Angel needing to come up to show them how it's done, and now Lwandy walking past On, but there is members of LNG here.
On will be able to jump to safety with the Battle Dance, and it is going to be 15 seconds now on this Drake. And honestly, I'm less interested in who gets this Drake, and I'm more interested in what the soul is going to be. Because if it's a Cloud Drake, well, it's not going to be the end of the world. But if it's an Infernal Soul and LNG have 2 Drakes, that's when things get dicey once again for Suning, just like the last game.
I will say, though, like, a Cloud Soul for Ale is actually really nice. Just the extra movement speed you get is crazy good in the Jackson. One of the things I wanted to highlight was, like, you're kind of talking about, like, lack of damage in the late game. Jax late game is insane. On-hit Varus late game is insane. But the crucial thing is they have mixed damages. Angel!
Angel's caught out. It's a great scat of the week, but it's nowhere near enough. And I don't know why he's trying to stand there. I don't know why he's trying to contest. The rest of the team is not on the same page. And it will be that Infernal Drake. It will be an Infernal Soul this game. And LNG with 2 Drakes already. SofM Ragnarok. What is going on right now? On has to go in to try and save his jungler's life here, but SofM gets flashed on by Tarzan. The Wild Growth already used. Tarzan closes the gap. SofM will go down. What is happening with Suning? What? Angel and SofM just taking it in turns to just run 1v5.
SofM's going to rip off the blue jersey to reveal a new blue jersey underneath, which is just LNG. They look at each other and just go, LNG forever. That's what's just
the sleeper agent all this time. He was secretly always on their side, waiting until it mattered most. Perhaps not. Perhaps we're getting a little overexcited on that one. I don't want to actually start a narrative there that we have double agents going on. Let's take another look. I mean...
Light.
Oh, okay.
That was
very
sick.
nice.
Yeah, I mean, the speed up coming through from Icon to give him the extra little bit of oomph he needed to get into that. And then, I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea. I am baffled by this. Like, cool. Like, you cleared the wave, but the wave was gonna... They probably weren't gonna take it anyway. And then you get the TP coming through from Ale. Like, I get the thinking, kind of, but it feels like it wasn't worth.
We're going to call that creative jungling. Well, Ale, it's time for another rodeo, sir, as he's going to be chased down by SofM and Angel, but it ain't happening, and
Icon's here
to answer, actually. So is Tarzan. Oh no, this just got real dicey for Suning. Angel's in trouble here. The double stun from the counter-strike. Bin has to get in here, but Angel's already gone down. The Lulu behind everyone keeps them safe as LNG just routs Suning.
And this has been so well played by LNG. We are saying, look, the place that they want to put their money is in this top lane. Use the resources, get ally ahead, play through this insanely strong mid-jungle 2v2. Well, it's an insanely strong top mid-jungle right now. And again, it's off the back of Icon being able to enable these two power lifters in LA and Tarzan. And now you're looking towards the Rift Herald, which can crack open this mid lane turret and give a more gold over towards LNG. You're looking, if this Rift Herald goes down, at a near 3,000 gold lead over in favor of LNG.
And the last time that happened in this series, LNG did not lose control of that game when they had the lead in the early game. That's when they managed to take game number 2 of the series. We'll see if they can repeat that performance. We're in game number 5, and Suning, after coming back 2 games, being down 0-2, can they possibly fall at the final hurdle? It would be such a heartbreaker for these players.
And the doubt starts to creep into your mind as LNG, right? Like, we've been talking about it. You haven't beaten these guys in 3 years. The last time LNG beat Suning was when SofM was on LNG. Now, pushed to a game 5. A 1,000 gold lead for LNG right now, but they feel like they're in control. They're the ones with the tempo advantage. Look at the river that runs red with the wards of LNG. They're looking to encroach further and further into Suning's side, making sure that they have the control they need to allow this Jax to split push in and threaten this mid lane turret, and always keep their eyes on the Baron.
Feels like LNG doing their best to ruin these signature picks for Suning, right? Making sure that they're trying to shut Bin down the entire early game. But I'm looking towards Angel this game on this Syndra. We saw it in game 3 of the series. He completely took over. Game before, another great performance. Now game 5, he has the Syndra once more. We need to see him doing work in these team fights. If he can get a stun onto Light, that's where the success can happen for Suning. But ultimately, Light is going to be very safe on this Varus with a couple of supports beside him. Tarzan will survive here, manages to dodge away from the root. And LNG continuing the siege here. A couple of more autos will finish this tier 1 tower. I think Suning have to back away, but SofM having to use that Ragnarok, staying a little bit too long on that one. Deadly Flourish goes wide, and LNG will walk away. We've got a Drake coming up in 15 seconds, Dagda. Ragnarok is on cooldown. I think this is going to be sole point for LNG with no contest available from Suning.
Yeah, I mean, a Ragnarok-less Olaf just doesn't cut it in these types of fights. There's too much CC, there's too much wayward damage, and he would have ended up going down. So now with that, Suning forced to back away. Bin will try and trade on the top half of the map. You can see Light and Lwandy going to go up there to collect it, but this is LNG now. Sole point for them. If they can push this across the line, it would mean everything to this squad, being able to bring themselves back from what was looking like a potential reverse sweep from Suning.
Oh, it's so tense, Dagda. I'm loving every second of this game.
I know.
It's a 1,000 gold lead in favor of LNG. And in 4.5 minutes' time, they have an opportunity to get an Infernal Soul. And, you know, I'd say SofM has probably had the advantage when it comes to the smites so far in this series. But there's only one smite that is going to matter, and it's that last, most crucial one. Tarzan still has the window to win it out. He's the guy that was #1 in the All-Pro team for the junglers. And we'll see if he can prove himself, because that was, I think, one of the most contested decisions on the All-Pro teams, right? And Tarzan in this series is here to prove himself.
And especially when we look at, like, even from LNG, right? Like, so long we've been kind of talking about these guys as, yeah, they're rebuilding. You know, they're trying to get themselves sorted. But coming into 2020, we saw Tarzan join the roster, like, working with Icon. We're like, this is now a team that you can build around. And then suddenly we saw Light and Lwandy coming up and becoming massive carries themselves, working well with this team. Ale coming through off of Sino Dragons into LNG, being that big Camille player, that carry performer in the side lanes, it all feels like it's coming together for LNG. And in this game, we're seeing those parts working together. Now going to invade on towards this top side. LNG looking to control the Baron area, giving space to Ale. So if Ale ever finds himself in that 2v1 situation, Baron will be turned on to straight away.
And Dagda, we are witnessing a story of personal growth here as well. Because right there, LNG invaded onto the blue buff. SofM conceded it. He didn't kill himself to try and get that buff, and that's a big step for SofM. Lwandy takes a bit of damage here, but he'll be able to back away. No Drake for 3 minutes, so I don't anticipate an actual fight will kick off here as Ally just pushes that wave out on the bot side. Somebody's going to have to go and answer. Tarzan's just waiting in the brush, though. Ale ward hops over to safety. On was trying to get this surprise engage. Ragnarok used by SofM. I was totally wrong. We may well see a fight here over the lack of Drake that is available. Bin, the target to start things off as Tarzan goes in. Ale jumps in on top of it as well. Bin has to flash over the wall. The Whimsy a little bit late from Icon there. Tarzan flashing for more. Great knock up from On though. The damage starting to get turned around. On in trouble here. 1 HP, but the heal comes through. Finished off by Ale. The Unleashed Power not enough to turn that damage around, and Suning lose one.
The carry conga line is just walking through onto Suning. Tarzan follows away to the back and it's just Ale stepping forward to replace him. You've got Light there to replace him. And Suning, they just can't keep up. This is too strong. LNG, they're too far ahead and they're plowing through Suning.
Suning punished for contesting contesting nothing. This is jungle camps. It wasn't even a Drake, and they're gonna end up losing a death for it. Not the end of the world, but still another play going the way of LNG, and now 4 towers under their belts. And again, it's what you said before, encroaching forward when it comes to control of the map. This is one of the things we usually praise Suning for, right? Control of vision, control of the map. This time it's LNG that are large and in charge.
And that's what LNG are finding here. They're trying to get that vision control, especially towards the next dragon, and make sure that Suning can contest. But they actually find Suning in the jungle. They're like, cool, it's a field day. Let's just go for it. And unfortunately, Suning, you can see how far behind they are. They need to start looking for picks. They need to go back to the style that got them to playoffs. Look for stragglers. Find people in transition and see if you can burst them out. When everyone is grouped up on LNG, it's way too hard to deal with. Too much CC. Movement speeds, healing coming through with the redemption as well. Now, go look for your picks with Bin. Try and see if you can use On to find these big engages that cannot be stopped by LNG.
45 seconds, Dagda, until that Infernal Drake spawns onto the map. Suning have to contest this one. They've not been winning the fights recently. SofM moving forwards here. Scout of the week available for Angel, and LNG have to be cautious. On though gets tagged by the chair. In goes Tarzan over the wall. SofM the target. Ragnarok already used here. Ale doesn't find his window to jump into the fray. And now the follow-up re-engaged from On. Curtain call comes through as well. The damage just isn't there. It feels like LNG barely scratched at the end of the engagement. They've got some honey fruit to work with as well. Drake coming up in 10 seconds. On low on HP. There's no Ragnarok available for SofM. Ale denied the re-engage here, but Drake coming onto the map. LNG can keep this rodeo going all day long. They have 2 supports. They've got a Lulu for shields and the wild growth. On jumps into the pit just to try and get some vision. Scatter of the week goes through. Deadly Flourish is there, but the Infernal Soul is taken, and LNG, after 2 losses back to back, are stamping their foot down in this series.
I will just say that Infernal Dragon Soul was taken by a Lwandy. So maybe a little bit close for comfort there, Tarzan. But it is still the end of the day. This is the soul now in the hands of LNG. And when you've already been struggling so heavily as Suning, this feels inevitable. This feels like you just don't have control anymore. And the thing that I wanted to point out was the entire time that skirmish, that kind of back and forth was happening between Suning and LNG, you still have redemption for Icon. He hadn't used everything in his arsenal. They were trying to bait Suning in, get them to overcommit so they could take the fight, and now they get to do the same thing at this Baron. Ale's going to push in topside, join them in at this Baron, and when Bin is on the bottom side, if he's not quick to the fight's done before Bin arrives.
On playing with fire here as Lwandy manages to tag him once again. That's a scout of the week. It is a Braum. Unbreakable will come through from Lwandy. He'll be okay, but still good damage coming out. And it really exemplifies how strong Angel is. 2 items there. Huanfeng has finished 3 items as well. Perhaps a window for Suning. They are so far behind in gold, though. 5,000 in favor of LNG as they go for another blue buff on, trying to contest. Deadly Flourish onto Tarzan. But LNG just stay clustered as this 5-man death ball. It's so hard to fight against. On has to back away. Ragnarok used defensively once again. And will walk away with his life, but Tarzan now following in. They're looking for Huanfeng. Scout of the Week keeps the AD carry alive. Suning underneath their tower. Chain of Corruption. That's one down. SofM falls. Bin now off on the flank. And LNG, they're happy with one. They're happy with the singular pick because it's the jungler that went down. And Baron Dagda is on the cards.
And how do you try and steal this now? We said that Suning, they need to find stragglers, they need to find picks, but LNG, they're saying there are no more picks. This is it. We are grouped as 5 and we are tearing through you. Now Suning, they need to find the damage.
Where's that clutch factor we've been talking about? Where's the hero plays from Suning? This is the time. Wild Growth on the front line. Scout of the Week onto everybody. Curtain Call comes on through. Health bars actually starting to get pretty low here for LNG. 4th shot available, trying to be blocked by Light. Hits onto Tarzan here. Bin forced out of the play as well. Deadly Flourish roots up Tarzan. Scout of the Week should be available again shortly. And LNG forced away. Suning not done just yet. They will not say die.
But you have SofM who's got to run bot side, so they actually can't start up this Baron and try and sneak it away as LNG look for the reset. Instead, Suning will push out their waves, look to try and contest again, but there, you can see how close it can be. If you allow this poke to hit from Angel, from Huanfeng, it ends up disastrously. But when you're able to run them down like we're seeing with Tarzan, being enabled by Icon, with the Shirelles coming through as well, it becomes child's play for them to just jump and leap and pounce on towards Suning.
Been looking for these flanks, but when everybody's just grouped up like this, it's so difficult to find your way in. And Light now, 3 items on this on-hit Varus. It's a build that's a little bit weird if you're thinking of on-hit Varus from last year. Not even remotely similar, but certainly incredibly strong single target damage, but also that survivability. And with a Braum and a Lulu, feels impossible to ever single line out.
And now LNG, they're going to just try and trade this pressure. They shove in mid, they're falling back to Baron. Bin needs to TP.
Might not do it though. We've seen what Suning are like. 8,000 on the Baron here. Is LNG just going to go for this? They're just going to burn it down. Suning, they're a little bit late to the contention here. SofM over the wall here does have flash available. Into the pit he goes. He cannot get the steal to happen though. And now LNG look for the fight. Suning low on HP and retreating here. Bin goes in to try and save the play, but he's fallen. Angel flashes over the wall as Ale looks for more, and Tarzan cuts him to size. Suning retreating to the wrong half of the map, and with Baron in pocket, LNG barrel towards the base.
There's still 30-second death timers as well. They will crack open the base. They will take an inhibitor. And you can see that LNG, this is their moment. This is where they can break the curse. And this is where they can take game 5 against Suning.
LNG proving everyone wrong if they can finish this Nexus off. They were seen as an underdog coming up against Suning, but they're managing to make this win happen after losing 2 games back-to-back, almost getting reverse sweeped. They're now being forced out of their base here. Dagda, I thought it was over. I thought that was the end of the series, but LNG can't quite finish it off just yet.
One Nexus turret falls though. Elder Dragon in a minute. The Baron resets are coming through. You have to fight as Suning. You have to fight against the Baroned up LNG with nothing left in your base. And when you look at how these fights are going, it's not going to be a pretty sight. LNG have consistently been able to find this terrifying front line with the Jax and the Xin Zhao being sped up, shielded up, wild growth it up, and chase down potential sky high on LNG. You need to find these picks. Suning are trying to get control over the area. TPs to the bottom side. Angel and Bin are on the flank, trying to see if they can find a member of LNG.
And Dagda, this series has been scrappy. It's been desperate. It feels like both of these teams are being pushed to the end of what they're able to do here. But LNG, with a 6,500 gold lead, with an Infernal Soul, and with Elder coming up in 2 seconds' time, are poised to take this series. SofM just desperately trying to clear these supers so that the mid doesn't push while this fight happens. And now they're just going to go for a fight. Forget Elder, forget the 50-50. Just try and force the team fight. The battle song comes in. Tarzan looks for a way in, but he's stunned up, rooted up, and not allowed entry. Suning survive, at least for the time being, but LNG, they can do this all day. Oh,
yeah, and there they go. Managing to get onto SofM.
He's all right. He's out of there. Now we rinse and repeat once more. Back to the Elder, go LNG.
I don't want to see LNG risk this. Like, this is the only way Suning can get back into this game is with some monumental steal and a burst across from Angel. LNG are playing this smart. They know that as long as they keep this back and forth, they will eventually outpace Suning. The lines, they're looking tired, they're looking worn, and LNG still have these fresh footings where they can come in with this moving speed from Icon across the board. Icon, though, needs to be careful he doesn't get caught.
Right, for now, Tarzan stepping forward, jumps into the middle of everyone. Wild Growth is there. His ultimate comes through as well. It's a stopwatch to keep Finn alive, but not for long enough. It only fought a few seconds, and now Suning chased back into their own territory because this Elder belongs to LNG.
The G lane will not be stopped here today. Now, stepping up to the Dragon. No flash in SofM. No way into the pit. He has to go the long way around, but it's gone.
2,000 on the Elder here. LNG just buying time as it falls, and now the re-engage. Ally can look to try and get onto Huanfeng. On has already gone down. And SofM and the rest of Suning walk back to their base with their tails between their legs. It doesn't feel like there's much they could do. A TP being channeled by Ally to get back into the fray once more. 5 men strong. Lwandy half HP, but it doesn't matter because there's an Elder. There's a Baron. Oh, sorry, there's an Infernal Soul. LNG moving forwards, upsetting the apple cart here. The higher seed moving in to look for a win. Bin goes in desperately. So does SofM, but they don't have the damage. The Nexus in tatters here as Suning forced back onto the fountain on the cusp of a reverse sweep, but swept aside themselves. LNG make the upset happen.
And they beat Suning for the first time in 3 years. Spring be damned, a 3-0 a distant memory. LNG will take the series in game number 5 against Suning.
For the first time in over 2 years, LNG manages to beat their rivals, and SofM, the first time that he's lost to his former organization in LNG. LNG also keeping their dreams of Worlds alive. You need to make it to round 3 of playoffs if you want to qualify for the regionals. And LNG, they're up against top esports next. It's not going to be an easy road, but it's still possible.
It's a long, long road. To get to finals, they still have to play at least, 5 best of 5s, and then you still have to look towards potential regionals where they have to play even more in that as well. It is a long road ahead of LNG, but at least this is one step on the golden path back towards a Worlds reappearance for Tarzan, but the first one for Icon as well. But they've got a long road ahead of them.
They certainly do, but I think the most crucial thing here, LNG redeeming themselves from their regular split, right? The second half of their regular split, things had fallen apart. It felt like this team had run out of gumption, right? It had run out of ways to make the wins happen. But here against Suning, they proved that they can dig deep. And coming onto a new patch as well, feeling very prepared, like they knew exactly what they were coming into. And being able to play against that Syndra 3 times here, being happy not to use the bans in that way and finding ways around it.
I think the big one as well is like the individualism be damned, right? We talked about these guys not really interacting between lanes. This game was because we saw Tarzan and Icon playing through LA in that top side, facilitating these early plays. And when you look at their successes in game 1 and game 2, it was the same story. People getting out of lanes and working together as a team. This was the LNG that I wanted to see all split long, but we are getting to see a little hint of it in playoffs. It pushed them to game 5, but they do find the victory here today.
Exceptional performance, and especially from Tarzan. Especially in this last game, we talked about SofM versus Tarzan, and it definitely was a matchup that went both ways across the series, but at the end of game number 5, it's Tarzan who came out on top. It's Tarzan who was finding the smites. It's Tarzan that was winning out with his team behind him and manages to close out this series. And it's a good sign for LNG moving forwards. It is the end of the road for Suning, though. So commiserations to Suning as they will fall out of playoffs. And importantly, that is their hopes of worlds dashed. Suning can no longer make it.
Yeah, we'll no longer be able to go and try and contest again for that world final spot like we saw from them last year, dropping it now in round 1. It is heartbreaking to see Suning kind of the slow decline that we've seen from them over the course of the year, but now we get to see kind of the rise of LNG and see if maybe they can do what Suning were not.
I'm excited to see what LNG have ahead of them, because I feel like we've seen a version of LNG today that we've not seen in a good old while. It feels like this is a reinvigorated roster, and against Top Esports, a team that could be like one of the best in the entire league, or they could be one of the worst in the entire league. We'll have to wait and see in that next best of 5 that LNG will be moving into. But on the other side of that, we are going to be moving to the other side of the bracket tomorrow. That means WE and OMG facing up against each other, and I think that has all the makings of an absolute banger as well. Both teams known to be a little inconsistent, so we could have a long series ahead of ourselves tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an absolute cracker of playoffs, man. Like, to be honest, like, this has kind of set the tone for me. It feels like every team here can upset everyone else. It doesn't, apart from maybe the likes of FPX, EDG, these kind of guys, the super tip top, you can still see a lot of these upsets that could potentially come through. And I think it started kind of here today with LNG. Despite being the higher seed, a lot of people didn't expect them to be able to take down Suning. As we said, like, it's been a long time since they've beaten Suning. It hadn't been the best end to the split, but what a redemption series for LNG. Like, I loved seeing how, especially when we look towards that mid lane icon, how much of an impact he was able to have in this series and really spread out, like, just have control everywhere on this map.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. And our MVP is going to go the way of Icon, and that's going to feel good for Icon, this Lulu coming through. And I think a crucial thing as well, when you think of Icon historically, it's things like the Echo, right? These aggressive carries that want to try and 1v1, want to play in the side lanes, want to find opportunities. Today, he has shone on things like the Galio, the Lulu, these defensive picks that are playing a different style to what he's known for historically, and it looks good.
And I think you can see the practice paying off for LNG, right? Like, this style, they have played it before, but never to this strength. I think you can see as well that this was definitely a game plan that LNG came in with, right? They had answers for the Ziggs from Huanfeng, answers for the Camille in the top lane, where you get this like heavy aggression towards the top side. It felt like LNG came in prepared, came in knowing what their strengths were and how they were going to exemplify that.
And on the opposite side of that conversation as well, Suning feels like in the draft phase, not as prepared as I think most people were expecting. Like, we saw some really creative drafts from them across the course of the split that looked really good. Were like counter matchups to their opponents. Today, I mean, we saw a little bit of creative drafting with the Zac support coming out, but it didn't look good, that is for sure. We're going to head over to the stage, though. We have a winner's interview.